Hi, Joe. Can you hear me? Oh, you're muted. Hold on, I'll unmute you. Oh.
Can you hear me?
Yes, all good. Awesome, very good. Well, I am waiting for JR, who's actually going to be teaching the class. When he gets in, I'll make him a co-host and all of that. So I'm glad y'all are joining us.
How's it going?
Hey, JR. Let me go over here, give you some controls. I'm gonna make you a host, JR. All right. That's it.
Like my chosen backdrop, Miss Kim?
Oh, I'm about to look at it. Hold on, I'm putting the video in our Facebook group.
It's a struggle. Like where do you do this thing in the house?
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's see here. Wait, that's a backdrop?
No, it's my living room.
I'm like, I was gonna say, I think that's your house.
Yeah. But I mean, you don't like, do you do it in a bedroom? Do you go outside? And then like, so all the calls and stuff have been making it, the birds are really loud. You don't appreciate how loud they are. People keep telling me, are you like in a bird cage or something?
A bird sanctuary. It's funny. All right. So for anyone that's new to Zoom, if you're on your computer, in the top right, there's a section where you can change your view, what you're seeing. So if you put it on speaker view, you're going to see whoever is speaking. If you put it on gallery view, then you're going to see the different participants that are on the call at this time. So you can change that. And there's also a chat option down at the bottom. By the way, if you're on your phone or iPad, you just want to swipe left or right to change what you're seeing. But then there is a chat option down at the bottom. So if you have questions or comments or anything, you can put those in there, and we'll be checking that periodically. But Gerald gets started here in just a few minutes. So we'll just let, I think the last check, we were probably close to maybe 50 people or so that were registered. So some will watch the recording, some will join us live here. So we'll give people about 2 more minutes to jump in. And we'll get going. And this is also broadcasting live right now in our Shop Marketing Pros has a private Facebook group that we started not long ago. So if you want, I'll put a link to that in the chat. You can go join that group, and we'll also be sending you an email with the recording and any kind of resources that JR mentions on this call. So I'm gonna go grab that link.
All right, cool. Thanks, Kim.
Kim, did you say this was going to be accessible to watch later?
It is. So, two different ways. One, we will email you a link to a resources page we're going to create that will have this recording on there. So if you have
Okay.
someone else in your business you want to watch it or you want to rewatch it, you'll be able to. But it is also, and I'll put this in the chat right now, it's also publishing live right now in our private Facebook group. So I'll put a link
Okay.
in. You guys can join that group if you want, but you'll be
That
able
would-
to definitely have it.
That would be awesome because I actually don't have time for this. My wife was supposed to do it, but she has a really bad migraine, so I was kind of filling her in. But I do have cars I need to work on.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
So we'll be able to catch it later.
Yep, you'll get an
Okay.
email, probably not today. The goal is by tomorrow morning, you'll get an email from us that will have a link to the recording. So yes.
Okay, cool. We'll watch it over the weekend then. Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
All right, guys, and while we're waiting for folks, I'm gonna just love to hear where some of y'all are from. So, like Joe, can you hear me? I'm gonna unmute you here.
Yeah. Hi, how are you?
Hey, Joe, where are you? Where's your shop? Where are you sitting right now?
Ira Township, Michigan.
Oh, Michigan. Cool. How things going for you?
Slow,
So-
but we're still open. So,
that's good. Yeah, that whole essential business thing is useful.
yeah, we're actually. I don't know, what happened? I can't- so, boss is off. Behind me. He's actually printing guards for the nurses' masks.
Oh, cool.
Printing right now, so this is what it looks like.
I've seen those. I saw some Boy Scouts were doing those to take the pressure off the ears, right?
Right, it takes them off the ear. So it's been going for probably 48 hours now straight. And
Is
you
that
have to
cardstock
put it
or
in to get these up. It's plastic.
is it a 3D printer?
It's a 3D printer that we're using. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Very
Nice
cool.
when the boss likes his toys.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having one of those things.
Yeah, it's very cool. I'm actually not ignoring you. I'm sending an email out to our customers. We need another 3D printer here.
Yeah, email's big right now. Well, let's see. Jen, I see a familiar name here. How are you?
Good. Sorry, I was muted. Good. How are you?
I'm awesome. Excited to do this.
Yeah, excited to be here.
You know, photography is my thing, and I'll get into it in a sec. Let's see, Mr. Jeffrey. May I unmute you?
Hi. I'm doing good.
Where
Thanks
you-
for having me here today.
Where are you calling in from?
Massachusetts.
All right. I used to, so I went to Tulane in college in New Orleans, and I don't know what it is about that place, but a lot of East Coast people come down to Louisiana, and you
Oh,
have
yeah.
a lot of guys from Quincy or South Quincy.
Oh, okay.
Even though it's spelled Quincy, I'm supposed to say Quincy. I don't know why.
I don't know. That's a ways away from me. We're in Western Massachusetts in South Hadley.
All right, cool. Yeah. All right, let's see. I'll wait another 2 minutes before I get started real quick. Let's see. Some of the people I can't see, but let's see. Miss Trisha, I'm going to unmute you. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, where are you calling in from? Which one?
From North Carolina.
Oh, okay, cool. And Kim's waving at you, so it sounds like.
Hey, Kim. I'm sorry, I'm eating, so I just figured I'll leave the video off for right now.
Trisha is taking Bob's place, who's retiring this year. So she'll be heading up IGO North Carolina.
Yup. Yup.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
You picked the right time to get out.
It's challenging for sure, but you know, I like to read a lot of sales books and I'm huge, I don't know what you call them, self-help books for lack of a better word, but a lot of them say like, the idea that people become heroes in challenging times is kind of a myth. It's like, how much have you prepared for this kind of stuff? You know, this is it. This is like the testing ground. So I like to prefer to look at it that way and like, I'm being tested. We're all being tested, and stay positive and yada.
Yeah.
I'm going to mute you again, Trisha. All right. Well, guys, I am JR. I wear many hats, I guess, at Shop Marketing Pros, but I do a lot of the conversations with shop owners like you, talking every day to people about, you know, what kind of challenges they're facing, but it all comes down to how can they get more clients in the door? How can they keep their bays full? So I'm in a good position to be able to hear directly from people. Whereas Kim here, my boss and her husband actually ran a shop. I worked in electrical and in the carpentry field, so I'm good with my hands, also good with marketing, but it's really so invaluable for me to hear from people what they can do, and also, you know, give them some of my knowledge. And I'll get into a bit more about why I'm teaching photography. But before we get into the class, and as we're waiting for a few more people to join, what I wanted to do, well, I guess I should share my screen first, right? So you can see the presentation. Let me see. Is everybody seeing taking great photos for your shop? Give me a thumbs up if, yep, I see some nodding hands. All right, cool. So let's get into presenter mode.
Hey, JR.
Yes, ma'am.
I do want to tell you, because I made you the host, you will have the option to do the polls. You'll see it at the bottom of your screen.
But you're so much awesomer than I am. Let's start. Let's see. Yeah, if you don't mind doing the first one, Kim, just so I don't mess it up. I know you've got much more experience than I do. So let's start off with that.
Like you have to, because I made you the host.
Okay,
Yeah.
so here we go. Trial by fire. Well, I'm going to have to get out of my presenter screen because now I can't see the thing.
No, just hover down at the bottom. Sorry, y'all. It's all good.
Well, oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Thanks. All right, so launch poll. I want to know why. Why are you here? Why do you want to take better photos? Is the poll up in front of you guys? Nod your head if you see it. All right, cool. So there's a few options in there, and I'll read them out. So why do you want to take better photos? Facebook, you want them for your website, Instagram, possibly other social media channels, your Google listing. You want to print them out on sales collateral, billboards, business cards, whatever, some sort of advertising like Facebook ads, or something else that I didn't put on here. Love to hear why. I think we made it so that you can only choose one, because I'm sure everybody would say all the things, right? But I want to hear that the highest priority for you of why you want to learn to take better photos. And so far, I'm seeing Facebook and website. Facebook by far the biggest lead, and which makes sense considering it's where everybody spends their time, and it's a highly visual medium. And I know there's not a whole lot of. We got 9 out of 12, so there's only a few people left to respond. So I'll give it a few more seconds. But it looks like Facebook is the biggest winner so far. I guess that looks like something like 60 or 70%. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and end this poll now. All right. Does it show the results right away, Kim?
You should be able to click share results.
So much.
There you go.
All right, so we can see there that Facebook is the biggest winner, and that makes a lot of sense. Kim teaches a class on Facebook. When that comes up, you can, when she says post a picture, this will be helpful for that. Instagram is owned by Facebook, if you didn't know that, so it's kind of part and parcel of the same thing, but a highly visual, like you can't do Instagram without pictures or graphics of some sort. Google listing, website, well, I'm gonna talk about most of these things on here, but cool. All right, so social media seems to be the real driving force. So let me close this thing. All right, so here's why I think every shop needs to be taking great photos. Social channels like Facebook and Instagram, clearly. Online directories like Google and Yelp are often overlooked, but especially Google, extremely important to have good imagery. Website, this is probably one, I'll get into this a little later, but probably one of the biggest things I mentioned earlier. When I talk to people, I hear a lot of complaints about their website feeling cookie cutter. There's nothing to differentiate them from other shops, so website's a big one. And then kind of, if you've got these things, well, I paid a professional photographer to take pictures for me. I'm gonna put it on my brochure. I'm gonna put it on a billboard. I'm gonna put it everywhere I possibly can. Although some of these things are a little, more and more as time goes on, and we focus on digital mediums. So I hear less and less about people paying for magazines and stuff, but if you have the images, use them. And then some shop softwares, you can take your own photographs, and then send them to the client. So you've got that visual interface too. You want to be taking good photographs there. And so let's look at the flip side. If you're not taking great photos, what happens? Well, your website looks cookie cutter. I just mentioned that. Your local listing, which is showing up when people are searching for you, looks terrible, right? There's a lot of competition in our industry, so you don't want to look like just leave it up to chance or to guessing. You're not showcasing your work, your shop's culture, customers. In this day and age, people have to have some sort of inkling of why you're different from the competitors, so they'll come to you, especially if they haven't chosen a shop yet. You end up looking like you don't understand how these things work, which in this profession, you don't want to look like a guy who doesn't understand, a guy or gal who doesn't understand technology. I mean, you just, the old school challenge there is kind of the subtext. Social content can be really lame. You rely too much on stock photography, and you end up losing business. I know that sounds a little critical, but this is kind of the fear and why photos make a difference. So, by the way, I should mention, if you have any questions throughout this thing, there's a chat. If you've never used Zoom before, I believe it's off to the right-hand side. Kim's paying attention to all these things. If it's something that she feels is critical for me to answer right away, she'll interrupt me. But otherwise, I love to hear feedback and stuff like that. So just a tiny bit about me. I've been taking photographs for a long time. I've trained other people to do photography. The older I get, the less I'm interested in being behind the camera, surprisingly, where in my 20s and stuff, I spent every day, every second consuming photography. So I've been doing it actually since high school. I got my first job with a newspaper in high school, raised in the darkroom, whole old school, and did the whole digital revolution. I've lived in London, Austin, LA. I've traveled all over Europe, Africa, all these kinds of places. So that's all fun and stuff like that. But probably the most important thing on this resume is being a Google trusted photographer, which meant that I shot for Google Maps and I got to know Google's interface very well, which is kind of what got me into marketing, because Google was saying, hey, we want you to go out and take pictures of these things because this is what customers are looking for when they're searching for businesses. I was like, well, that's pretty useful knowledge. Business owners, here's what Google itself says. You don't get to talk to Google very often. Here's what they say they're looking for. And I'll get into that a little bit later. And then, some of oh, sorry, I missed that picture. Not to brag a little bit, but like I get these emails and stuff just as proof. Some of the photographs I've taken for businesses all these throughout my years, it's crazy the amount of times these games get seen. 22,500,000. That sounds like a made up number, but if it's on Google, it's highly, highly visible. So I get these kind of emails all the time for these photographs. So it is really important, not just to look good, but because people will see them. All right, I know I have a tendency to talk very quickly. Just give me the slow down if I start to speak too fast. But here's what we're gonna cover today. We're gonna do equipment basics, right? No good photography class without talking about what the heck to shoot with. The rules of photography, you'll come out with some terms that you can, wow at parties. Type of shop photos that people wanna see. This is probably my favorite part of the course. And then some of the platforms where it makes sense to use these photos. All right, so without further ado, equipment basics. Here you go. It's the only camera we're going to talk about today, your phone. You may be expecting me to say, oh, you've got to go out right now and get a Canon DSLR 600D, whatever the latest thing is they do. Real world, as a man who was raised on 35mm film, I've shot with large format cameras, whatever, it doesn't make a difference. If you were to ask me, what's the best camera to have? I'd say the one you have with you when you need to take a photograph. And the thing we have with us all the time in shops is either your iPad or your phone. So forget all that other stuff. I don't want any barrier to you taking photographs. So, and of course, you guys know this. All these phones are amazing at this point. Every new release of an iPhone or an Android phone has more and more little lenses on the back. You can do close up, you can do far away. I mean, it's incredible. So just focus on your phone. Really, you don't have to go out and buy anything. If you'd have to have some accessories, I say a baby tripod because, they can be pretty expensive. If you want to set something up, they have these little holders for a phone, a little portable tripod. I almost never use one. I just got good at holding stuff still. They have little clip-ons. I made this slide and it's already changed. Like literally, they have all the lenses built in now, so you don't really need that anymore. And a gimbal, especially if you're doing video work. This is not a video class. But if you're using your phone to do video, which I love, then a gimbal, it's the thing that you hold and it kind of makes the phone stay still when you're dancing around all over the place. But really, you don't need any of these things. You just have phone, we'll photograph. All right, so that's it. That's the whole equipment section of my presentation. How do you like that? So let's talk about the 5 rules for taking photos like a boss. Number 1. Oh, here they are. I'm going to tell them all, and then I'll dig into them. So number 1 is going to be, let me move you all's pretty faces out of the way so I can read my own slide. Number
Hey,
1.
JR,
Yes, ma'am.
do you have a gimbal right there by you by any
If I were
chance?
teaching this in our office, I would have one to hold up right now. I don't.
I'll go grab one, but I'm going to put a link to, because somebody asked, what is it? So continue, but I'm going to go grab one and
It
hold it.
it should be in the closet.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, we have a gimbal that I've used. It's made for cell phones. I've shot video and stuff with it. It's pretty neat. I've seen other people. I did a podcast with Carm one time, and a shop owner was on there talking about how he does a thing where he like always photographs like this, or he like has his own super manual, like holds his own wrist or something like that. But again, makes a lot more difference for video work. For photography, for photos, you just hold still. You know what I mean? Okay, so the 5 rules for taking photos like a boss. Take control of the situation. Use depth of field. Some of you guys may know what that means. Some not. I'll go into it. The rule of thirds, what that means. Keep your lighting easy and change your perspective. So let's go to the next slide. All right, taking control. This is probably the most important thing for photography that I got really good at over the years, is that a lot of people feel really, I don't know, trepidatious. They don't want to go in and mess up. People who are working in the shop, or I don't know why, but people were very, scared of moving stuff around, saying, move out of my way, I'm taking a picture. It's your shop, right? And I tell you, you'll get the impression by the time I'm done. The photographs you take an extra second to do the things like cleaning. Oh my gosh. If I see another shop photo that has just junk everywhere, that is not the impression that anybody wants to convey about their shop, right? So take 5 minutes and clean it up. If it gets dirt, you can put all this stuff right back right afterwards, but these things are so highly visible in the digital age. It pays to take a second to move the stuff out of the way. Not that you guys have pinup calendars or whatever, but just think about whatever you see and your screen is what millions of people will see. So take control, slow down, and change it, right? So moving things around, cleaning up, telling someone to move out of the way. If you have staff that you can have someone in the picture, tell them exactly what you want them to do. Kim's got a gimbal on the screen now, if you see her. That one is, what's it called? It's DJI, Ronin, like the guys who make they're the big name in gimbals. It's DJI something. It's already out of date. We only had it for a year, and they keep releasing them all the time. So it's pretty cool, very light, little handheld thing. They usually don't cost more than $200. Sometimes less, sometimes more. All right, so taking control, here's an example of that. So this is a photo from a shop they gave us. This is very typical, right? This looks like anybody's shop. However, this photo is now on their Google My Business listing and possibly on their website and stuff. The first thing I see is that table full of lubricants and brake fluid, and all of that kind of stuff is there. It would have been cool to take that stuff off, because that's what my eye goes to, and that's what everybody's eye will go to. So cleaning is probably the big one. Or, by the way, if their pants are falling down or something like that, that counts too. Fix yourself up. Especially if you're going to plan to take a bunch of pictures at once, then take some time to plan ahead of time. So depth of field or selective focus is an old photography term that has to do with, my wife calls it the softening. So when I take a picture, probably my hardest client I've ever shot for is my wife, because whenever I'm taking pictures of my kids, which happens once or twice a year, she's like, I don't like that. I want it to be softer. I want it to be softer. She doesn't mean the kid's soft. She means the background. So right now you can see me and you can see everything behind me clear as day. It would be a lot better of a photograph if you could only see me and everything else fell off into softness. As an example, I'm going to show you what that means after this. You see this picture right here? The guy, his hands and the part is in focus, and then behind him you stop. Your eye doesn't go to focus on that because it gets softer. That's called selective focus. I'm selecting what I want to photograph. With a digital camera, popular DSLR, which means the big lens that can come off and stuff like that, I could change aperture, I could do all this stuff, but forget all that. With a cell phone, what do you do? Well, if you have an iPhone, it's called portrait mode, right? That's that thing where you pull out the phone, you choose portrait mode. Ms. Kim uses it all the time. It automatically will do it for you. Every phone's a little different, right? An Android have this or that. Basically, get as close as you can and press the thing you want to focus on, and you'll see if it drops off. So if you go back to the picture before, see this? This is infinite depth of field. everything in the shop is in focus. So my eye doesn't know where to go. I'm seeing all of this stuff. It just looks a lot more professional if you're able to do the softening, as my wife likes to call it. So number one, on a cell phone, get closer and tap a thing. It'll automatically, things farther away will fall out of focus. If you're using Instagram, there's something on Instagram called the tilt shift. It's one of the filters that you could, it's kind of a workaround. Here's an example, not an automotive photo, but you take a picture like that where everything's in focus and you click on the tilt shift, you see that little button there and you can just soften stuff. It's a hack, but you could do that in Instagram. Or the portrait mode is by far on these phones. With all those lenses, it now makes it a lot easier to do that. So get closer. Oh, there are also these little adapters, but again, fewer and fewer people are using those as phones get more advanced. Okay. Number 3, the rule of thirds. Kim makes fun of me all the time because I say the rule of thirds. One time she's like, oh, the rule of thirds. And here, the definition doesn't make me sound any less snotty because it's here. An image should be, imagine, is divided into 9 equal parts by 2 equally spaced horizontal lines and 2 equally spaced vertical lines. Okay, I'm already lost, right? What it means is if you drew a grid over your picture, 2 lines going horizontally, 2 lines going vertically. So you're dividing it into like 9 quadrants. Wherever those lines meet is where the eye, it looks good. I don't know what great art mind, some Grecian dude figured this out, but you see how that guy's head is right at the joining point of one of those lines, not smack in the middle of the image? That's better. Don't ask me why, it's just more pleasing. So now, if I asked you to go take a photograph of your shop, like, all right, I want to take a photograph detailing a car, right? Do I put him in the middle of the screen or do I offset him to the right third or the left third? The answer is the rule of thirds. Do it that way. It's more pleasing to the eye and it looks more professional. So there's also a little bit of depth of field going on here, right? You see how the background falls off out of focus? It could be even more. And then your eye would naturally just focus in on that dude. So by the way, this is an ad that gets served to me all the time for a bolt-on. I'm sure maybe some of you guys recognize it, but it's a good example of a rule of thirds. Cool. Now you guys can go and say, oh, I was studying up on the rule of thirds in my photography class. Sounds smarty. All right, lighting. Here's another one that people mess up really badly. Don't ever turn on the flash on your phone, ever, ever, ever. I don't care how smart the phones get. Flash has a tendency to make people look like really shiny, flat, surprise, like paparazzi style. Here's the thing, you're under a car. It's really dark under there, right? So use a work light. You guys have them, I know you do. In a pinch, get a separate phone and use the glow from the screen. I've totally done that before. Anything you can, but just don't turn the flash on. It's very hard to control. It just doesn't ever look good. Probably the best thing you can do is to get near an open bay door and that light filtering, like you guys can see the light on the side of my face right now. That's a window. That's all photography is just trying to control light. Some of the best light you can get from a softbox or whatever is just mimicking window light, not direct sunlight. That's really harsh, but if you can get close to so control your lighting. Here's an example. You see this guy's face? That's a pretty good portrait, right? We got a good example of depth of field. The background's falling off, so it's probably messy back there, but we can't really see it. He looks nice, you know? He's just standing next to an open door is all that is. So we got a good example of depth of field. We got close to him. People are, especially given this is the COVID times, no one wants to get close to whatever, about 6 feet. But in this case, it's nice and cropped in. That would be a great shot on his website. And on everything else, social media, that would be great. Hey, meet Cody. He likes long walks in the park or whatever. So, but no flash involved at all. You don't need to go buy out any lighting or anything like that. All right, and the 5th rule of taking photos like a boss is getting closer. I just mentioned, I don't know what it is. People just want to stand up, take their picture, and never kneel, never get down. You know someone who's really into photography when they're getting on top of things or getting low. If you're going to take a wide angle shot of your shop to show it off after you've cleaned it, right? You should get up on top of something, change the perspective, so you can see more stuff, or get low. Some of my favorite shots I see are things like this, where you're down on the ground, might get a little grease on your pants, but that's a cool shot. Again, a good example of depth of field. There's probably some lighting going on there, either a work light or something to make sure you can see his face, but don't be afraid to change your perspective, get closer. All of these things put together will lead to a shot that looks more pro. You don't necessarily have to hire a professional photographer. Obviously, I'm a big fan of pro photographers, but those little things together, especially the depth of field, getting closer, things like that, will lead to better images. Kim and I, we see a lot of, working on a website, clients will send us photographs. So I tell you, your marketing partners really appreciate better photographs. Probably the most common one is that they're really far away. So we end up having to crop in super tight on a person. Another tip, I have it at the end in a card. The vertical thing, flip your phone horizontal. Although now social media, it's fine with vertical and stuff like that. For a website in particular, this horizontal. So holding your phone, I don't have my phone on me, but yeah, I do. What I mean by that is just default to shooting like this. Shooting like this is more comfortable and stuff like that, but you'll get more use out of a horizontal shot. So recapping this section, take control, use depth of field, the rule of thirds, remember that one. Keep your lighting simple, don't use any flash, and change your perspective. All right. Kim, has anybody asked any super pressing questions that I just have to answer now? All right, cool. Okay, let's talk about the types of photos that people want to see of your shop. So obviously people want to see the shop, you would think, but what else? So this is when I mentioned earlier that I'm a Google trusted photographer and they told me exactly what people want to see. Don't take this from me, take this from Lord Google. They would send me out to take photographs of businesses. They said, shoot interiors, shoot exteriors, take portraits of people doing it, anything you can of the products and services, and anything that shows fun, shop culture, I'm gonna call this. Lifestyle is another way to talk about this. Do you guys see a blue line on the side there? There's like this mysterious blue line throughout all of my slides. I think that's super weird. Anyway, okay. Number one, interiors. Well, this is kind of obvious, but you know, what does your shop look like? Particularly the waiting room. Some shops really take a lot of pride in how clean and welcoming it is. I know when Kim and Brian owned their shop, they had a really, what did you guys have, a massage chair or something like that? So show that. Anything that's to separate you from your competition is gonna be useful. So wide angle, by that I mean get as far back as you can, zoom all the way out on your phone as much as you can, shoot from the front to the back, back to the front, every angle. Obviously the actual bays themselves and the work area, make sure it's clean. Skip the bathroom. This is just a good rule of thumb for any business. Unless it's like the most amazing bathroom, no one ever wants to see toilets.
But can I throw something in there, JR? I'm sorry I'm interrupting you. The bathroom, like he's so right, but I'm going to tell you, when we had our shop, this was before the whole female-friendly trend was a thing. We were called female-friendly, and people wanted to know that our bathroom was clean, and they loved that we had the bathroom, the baby changing station and stuff like that. So like he said, if your bathroom is special, then you know there's reason for that. But yeah, I mean, if it's just your typical bathroom, you probably don't need to take any pictures. But I know a lot of times, you know, shops really take a lot of care to make sure that they are presenting positively for females, but everybody. So just want to throw that in there.
Right. So, I mean, I guess that's a good rule for whatever in your shop. If it's atypical, that would be something to focus on. And then remember I said getting up high, whether it means getting a ladder or something like that, that sort of perspective, shooting high interiors looks really cool. We do it a lot. So just think about that, getting high or getting low. Not just however tall you are is how tall every photograph is, you know, switch it up a bit. All right. So here's an example of clean, you know, nice wide angle. Maybe you had to clean up the magazines in the waiting area, move stuff around, but this will end up on the Google My Business page and it'll end up all over the place. Relatively clean shop, you know, I'm not looking for ridiculous, like it's never been used before, but you want to try and clean as much as possible. And notice in back that this one's taken from back of the corner, making it look as big as possible. All right, so exteriors. This is for some reason often overlooked. You may not be proud of the front of your building. I mean, a shop is a shop is a shop maybe, but if you think about it, particularly in Google search, people need to know where they're going. So oftentimes they're looking to match up what does this place look like and when they're on their phone trying to get there. So there's a reason for it. So you want to shoot it straight on and also at an angle. And again, make sure the shop is clean. You might have to fix the sign that you've been putting off or the plant or whatever it is, and try and think of ways to make it look more welcoming. If there's any foliage or flowers, put out a potted plant, something like that. You don't have to take a photograph of the hours or the front door, but oftentimes, again, it's just a mechanism to show people, especially on the Google listing, this is what we look like, this is where we are. This is all straight from Google, what they told me. So here's a good example, you know, these guys, I mean, half the shops I talk to are off the main road or not necessarily easy to find. So this just helps like, okay. And it's also a thing for potential customers to see like, all right, a lot of people are nervous perhaps about going to a shop for the first time. They want to make sure it's the kind of shop that's legitimate or you know, maybe it's been around for a while established. This helps assuage some of that doubt. And here's just signage. It's not a beautiful photograph. You're not going to be entered in any photo contest, but it serves a function of like, if you see the sign, you're close. So make sure you take those photos too. All right, portraits. I showed you one already, but you've got staff, the staff doing stuff, but also one that's really great for social media is those happy customers. If you're able to take control, remember from earlier, and ask a customer or one of your favorite people or you come to you a lot like, hey, can we take a picture together? Or this is kind of akin to asking for a customer review. That makes really good social media content. And then you're able to share that and that person is going to tag their friends too. So it's not just staff, but also happy customers, someone's birthday. It's just all really good social content because it establishes the personality of your business. So let's look at some examples. Oh, I mentioned this earlier about getting close. Don't stand 43 miles away and take a photograph of Joe. You got to make sure you know, you're close enough and use that depth of field and stuff as much as you can. Good. I talk about this later. You can pose people, you can shoot them candidly. It doesn't matter. Oftentimes candids look a little better. People get real, they freeze up when you're taking their photographs. So just catch, you know, whoever doing their work and sneak up on them, take their picture. I'm sure they'll love you for it. Here's an example of that happy customer thing. This is a little staged, you know, but it doesn't have to be perfect, but bringing people outside the shop into your photographic mix can be really useful. All right, products and services. Obviously we're not like selling, you know, Beanie Babies or anything like that, but there are ways, you know, for the products to, if you're selling batteries and stuff like that, to take those kinds of photographs. But think about, you know, what is your service? Well, on your website, hopefully you have a services section that we do transmission work. Well, you know, we'll rotate tires, oil change, da-da-da. So think about how do I illustrate each one of those things? People don't want to read. So what does it look like, you know? So this is, again, use that depth of field, that selective focus, get as close as you can. So here's an example of the battery thing, right? What do we see here? Rule of thirds. So you've got the focus on the third and on the leftmost quadrant, and you see it falling away. It's just like, ooh, what a professional photograph of batteries. Batteries are boring. It's hard to take a good picture of batteries, but you do something like this. Like, okay, well, these guys sell batteries. I see that. Another example, here you go, detailing. This looks like a stock photo, something we shot for a client. And that looks pretty cool. He's actually doing the service. That would be really like your marketing person. If there was a page on the site about how you do detailing or we take care, we white glove approach, whatever it is, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? Take that picture and show it. It didn't take much to do. And also take control, back to one of those words. You've got to tell your staff, you're like, all right, you're going to take a picture of me. I want you to get a cloth. You become like a director. Put yourself on a little beanie and you're directing all the people what to do. So you got to take control of it. And lastly, it's the shop culture. This is the fun part, pure social media bliss. If you're working with us or something, you're sending us pictures of people doing stuff, having fun, somebody's birthday. Oh, look at this awesome car that came in and people being like, yeah, well, 63 Camaro, yeah, whatever. That's the kind of stuff that does really, really well with social. You can use it on other places in your site and stuff too, but pretty much this people love to see. So it's going to help separate you from your clients big time and showing the personality of your shop. These are actual social media posts we've done for some people. The one on the right specifically, it's goofy. I mean, not every shop is as goofy as I am, but you know, anything you can do to just separate yourself and be like, oh, these guys are nice, or I like what they're about. You know, that really helps on social. All right, so recapping that, the 5 types straight from Google: interiors, exteriors, portraits, products and services, and shop culture. You guys can hear my dogs back barking outside. They're excited about some squirrel or something. All right, we're been talking at you guys for a little while now. Let's do another poll here. I'm going to initiate this because I'm a master of polls. Where did it go? There it is. All right, so this one, I want to know which platforms. Kim, oh, I see the last poll. Oh, here it is. Let's try. which platforms are most important to you for showcasing your photos? I believe you can choose more than one on this. I don't know. If you can't, just pick the most important one. While you do that, I'm gonna knock on my window and tell my dogs to be quiet. Hush. You like that? This is all being recorded too. That hush.
So real life.
This is the world
Welcome to the new 2020.
All right, so what are we looking at? We got 50% talking about Google. Again, that Facebook and Instagram are, few people feel like it's really strong. I'm gonna count down to 10. I'm gonna sing Code of Chrome while we're at it. Ready? Code of Chrome. I'm not gonna do that. But anyway, it's a good song. All right, ending the poll. So let's see, share results. So Facebook again wins, although Google My Business is there. If I keep using the term, but if you've never heard of Google My Business, you're about to learn. It's very important. So Instagram, website, email, pretty good split, but Facebook and Google My Business and Instagram taking the cake. All right, so I'll get rid of this thing now. Whoop, sorry. Y'all's faces are blocking all the stuff. All right, here we go. So platforms for sharing. Did I skip a slide? Hopefully not. Yeah, that was right, sorry. Okay, so platforms for sharing your shop's photography. We're gonna talk about Google My Business, Facebook, Instagram, email, and your website. So by far, the most important in my book is gonna be Google My Business. I put the website there at the bottom because every time I mention this thing, people were like frantically like, what was the website again? If you don't know what Google My Business is, it is the listing, it is the portal on Google where you get to control the hours, the location, the photographs, the map marker, everything. It's like the only control you can have over Google without paying them is through Google My Business. It's been called different things throughout the years. It used to be called Google Places. It was linked to Google Plus at some point. Google's all over the place with their branding, but Google My Business is what it's called now. It's super, super important. And for SEO, search engine optimization and ranking, it's a key factor with local SEO to make sure it's fully optimized, all that stuff. So to me, hyper important. If you're not paying attention to it now, you should. You can even now, as it's been about a year or so now, you can post in the Google My Business platform. It's like a quasi-social thing, but some SEOs believe that it used to be only a post would last 2 weeks, now it only lasts 1 week. You can post there like you would on social, photographs would be really great. The cool thing about that, Facebook is Facebook, but you have to go to facebook.com to see it. Posts in Google My Business actually show up on the homepage of Google, like some of the most prime real estate in the digital universe. So anyway, you get the story here. Google My Business, really important. So let's see what that looks like. That right there, you've seen this a million times when you search for something. You type in the name of your business, that thing should show up on the right. If it doesn't show up on the right, that's not necessarily good. Sometimes you'll get maps and stuff like that, but this is called a knowledge card. That see photos thing, it's really prominent, right? A lot of people click on that. And if you use Google My Business, you can see there's a lot of data in there, a lot of insights. You can actually see how many people looked at your photos and stuff. So if you put yourself in the head of a potential customer, let's say I typed in auto repair shop near me, that'd be a pretty good SEO keyword term. And I've got all these options. Well, I pick one, I'm shopping, right? That's what Google's about. People are looking for solutions. This is just another piece of, if you have nothing there or you leave it up to Google, they're gonna show the street view, on the best street or whatever. Don't leave it up to chance. That looks pretty good. And even when you click in, it shows you, it takes you to Google Maps and it's all listed out there. These photos that you put into Google My Business have some of the most, they just go. People like to throw around the term viral, but you'd be surprised how these things show up. You call people. I call people on my phone and pictures show up when I'm calling them from here. I've seen some horror stories too, because people can submit. I could go to your shop right now and submit my own photo and it could be anything I want it to be, right? And if you're not paying attention to that, it could be something inappropriate and you have to go market inappropriate. Not that people are going to do that, but I'm just saying a super powerful platform. So you want to be in control as much as you can. And this, you'll see, this is those types of photographs I told you about, portrait, Google will ask you for those things. So try and have them all. All right, that was my Google My Business soapbox speech. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Facebook is obviously a big one. Kim teaches a class on Facebook and Instagram, so I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of Facebook, but technically it's an older demographic. It's where people are, you know, and by older, I mean not 13. Everybody's on Facebook. So you really cannot post anything on Facebook. I would never recommend posting anything that's just purely text. It gets very little engagement. So you're always going to want to do photos. It's kind of important. So either you're doing, if you have someone managing your Facebook, your shop's Facebook for you, they're probably just doing stock photography a lot, which people get really sick of seeing. And Facebook, I have these kinds of get to know you conversation with shop all the time. And I talk to people about Facebook. They're like, I want to get new clients. I want to get new clients. I need to focus on Facebook. Well, Facebook isn't necessarily about getting new clients. A lot of advertising, there's other ways to do it, but engaging the people who already know you is really important in social media. So what did we just say that the things are that people like to see a lot? Things that show your shop culture. So this would be a really good place for those culture photos. So it's also an important local search thing. So a lot of us are concerned with keeping bays full and keeping clients from shop hopping and stuff like that. Well, Facebook has really come up in the past years of people search for, they go to Google to search for stuff. They'll go into Facebook too and search for repair shops. And Google and Facebook has gotten smart enough that it knows where they are, all that same kind of algorithmic stuff. So you really want your Facebook page to be fully filled out with great photos, profile, all that kind of stuff. But again, go to Kim's Facebook class whenever that's happening, you'll learn a bit more. My point is it's a really good place for using those photos. Instagram, you know, similar thing. This is purely photographic. It's not as important in my head to be active on Instagram or a shop. I mean, we usually will manage people's Facebook and Instagram, but again, if you're posting, when you go in, you could post to both usually at the same time, Facebook and Instagram, all that kind of stuff. So younger demographic, nothing I can tell you here that you don't already know. However, Instagram is totally fun for using cool filters and stuff. You can take a mediocre photograph and make it super cool looking by using that. So I like to shoot and upload to Instagram and then share from Instagram to Facebook if you're doing it on your own, because it's just like adding another button. Facebook is a lot more powerful for choosing who you know, boosting posts and choosing who you engage with and stuff like that, but both require imagery to truly engage. All right, so here's some examples of social posts. What do we see here? I mean, they're not gonna change the world kind of photographs, but we got people showcasing a service that they do or some unique sort of surface, like paying attention. Once you get in the habit of taking these photographs, you're looking for stuff to shoot every day, something that falls within that culture, interiors, you know, something to access people. And some of those things really, when they strike home, really get people excited versus all the stock photographs of the classic lady scratching her head. I had someone the other day tell me, it's like, I saw a photograph posted for me that was an old guy, and then I saw the same old guy in a pharmacy commercial. I'm like, it's old guys everywhere, like that kind of stuff. People are wise to that stock stuff. It gets old. Email, this is really often overlooked. So email is super powerful. If you guys aren't collecting email addresses from your customers, you really should be. We like to send out a monthly newsletter for all of our clients, right? You don't want to, I was just talking to a guy this morning that was sending it out twice a month, and he's seeing a huge drop. He's oversaturating his market. A lot of people are texting and doing that kind of stuff as well. So you can see there that it's a good place. You shoot once and then you use it everywhere you can. So if I took that one picture, I'm going to put it on social, I'm going to put it on my website, I'm going to put it in my newsletter. Email is great because it shows them people's inboxes and stuff, and then they can click through when they're ready. They can control the stuff you're putting in front of them. So another good avenue to share company culture and stuff like that. All right, so website is probably my biggest one that I see the most need for shops. A lot of them complain that it looks exactly the same as other shops, whatever. They all have the same stock images, all the same stock text. So if you do those photographs of Google My Business, the interiors, the exteriors, the action shots, the services, all that stuff, give it to your web developer, the person who built your website, and say, use these instead of the stock stuff. Your website will automatically stand out from anybody else. Specifically, that homepage hero image is what we like to call it. When you go to the homepage of a website, so these are all different homepage examples, and you'll notice we've got depth of field going on, but we've got rule of thirds going on big time, right? The guys are never in the center because we are aware when we shoot that text is always involved. when you're shooting for a website, always be wary that there's probably going to be text overlaid on it. But you've got tight crops. So all of those principles are at play here. Showcasing a service pretty well lit. The one on the bottom right is very Instagrammy. That's like a very Instagram looking filter and stuff there. So, but that's the hero image. When I get to a website, you'd be amazed. If you don't know what heat mapping is, it's like something we can put on a website where you can see where people click. And it actually it looks like infrared vision. The place where people are clicking a lot will be bright red, and the places they never go will be blue. So it goes from blue from red to blue. So like an insane amount of people will not go past this page. They're really going to your site to see if you can provide the service that they're after, but mainly they just want to know you're legit and that what's your phone number, where are you located. So they're going to see this image and they're going to make a snap judgment call on you. So the most important image on your entire website is right there. That's why we call it the hero image, homepage slider, whatever you want to call it. So if anything, if one photograph you're going to make custom or make good, that's going to be the one right there. And that's the actual Mr. Bobby's the owner of that shop. So it's customized. Before and after shots are really good. Again, these are not photographs that are going to like change the world or anything like that, but just being aware and having that phone in the pocket. This is guys that specialize in RV that we work with. It took some before after shots. Think about your customers, seeing that like, oh, I can see that these guys know what they're doing. I can see they can fix, do collision stuff. So they know what they're doing. Those are really powerful photographs to have on a website and will be really good on a services page. There are those staff photos again. So how can I make my staff look, or even showcase? I mean, very few shops take photographs of their own staff. It's always this big hunky European looking guy. All the stock seems to be of like dudes wearing these overalls I've never seen any shop actually wear. So being able to take stuff, they may not like it or whatever, but getting them to clean up, that could be really, really cool to do. And great stuff for social media as well. So that would obviously go on the about page or on the staff page. Action shots are really good. And a lot of these will be turned into headers. So when you go on a website, the top always usually has some sort of image there. So imagine these like cropped into these epic things at the top. So showing, adjusting of a transmission or anything, any of this kind of stuff. Remember, get low, get high. So this is a shot from down low. This one's looking up. Those action shots will be used on the website quite a bit. And here's examples of those headers. So we'll take a photograph that we see and we'll put text over it and maybe a color overlay. So these photographs get used a lot on the website. There's that storefront signage. So if you have a location page or a contact us page, which you should on your site, a lot of people are just going there to find the phone number on the maps. That's a really good place to put the storefront and signage photographs. So these are the kinds of things when we build a website, we send out a packet to people and say, all right, here's our wish list. My art director made something called the wish list. And I think actually maybe we should include it in Act Now, and I will include it in the post-class email. We'll send it to you. But these are the kinds of things we're looking for. It makes a website stand out so much more. All right, so those are the platforms for utilizing the photography you're now going to be shooting for your shop. Google My Business, Facebook, Instagram, email newsletter, and your website. All right, so that's all the content at 300 miles an hour. So what we've covered are the equipment basics, which is basically just use your phone. The rules of photography, those things like rules of third, take control, keep your lighting easy. The types of shop photos that people want to see, interior, exterior, lifestyle, services, and whatever else I said. And then the platforms where you can use these photos. Not overly complicated. So I think now I have one more slide that's just things that didn't fit. So I want to make sure I mention them. Default to horizontal orientation. So hold your phone sideways. Avoid using the phone cameras. And this is important too. Phones are getting really good. But basically you've got a little chip in your phone, and the more you zoom in, the more it zooms in on the picture on the chip. So it gets really degraded very quickly. The last thing we want to send or post is something that's really low quality. So that's another thing on there. Go into your phone and just set it to shoot whatever the highest resolution, highest size, whatever it's called in there. Just make it as big. Most of the stuff is being backed up to the cloud now, so it doesn't really make a difference. So just shoot big. Don't you're not going to realize this until later. You send it to your web developer. He says, I can't use any of these because they're itsy bitsy. Well, that's not what you want. You can pose people or you can shoot candid. Try a little bit of both. depending on what your directorial style is, you might want to sneak up on people and mention that. There's a lot of camera apps that can turn your phone into a professional camera. Personally, I'm just a fan of, get closer, or, no over filter things, but there are a lot of apps out there you can buy for 99 cents or whatever. Plan for text on the photo. That's important when shooting for a website. If you need inspiration, go to social media and find shops that you think are doing. We pay attention to lots of shops all the time, and Kim will share them with the rest of us and say, look, this is a cool photo, particularly the ones of people in shops, all that good culture stuff. Dogs always do really well. If you got any animals around, or kids, people like to see that. Cool cars, so pay attention to what other people are doing, just imitate it. And then my last bit of advice is shoot more, because I came from film. It costs a lot of money to buy a roll of 35 millimeter and develop whatever. We don't have to pay anything now, so just shoot. It doesn't make a difference. Shoot 1,000 photos and use one, it doesn't matter. So just keep shooting. All right, so I think now we get to go to question stuff. So I'd like to hear, anything I didn't cover, what your thoughts are. Hit me with it.
And you guys can just unmute yourself if you have a question. JR, I'll just let everybody know I've posted quite a few links in the chat they can look at. Okay. But I think that you covered everything. I did let them know, I did ask if they were interested in us writing a blog that listed out ideas. We have the shot list. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if anybody has questions, just put them in the chat, or unmute yourself and just ask.
I have a question. It's kind of random, but so the action photos with the your technician under a car turning a bolt, why do you think there's such a draw to that? When I think about taking pictures, I think nobody's going to care about this. Why would anybody be interested in this? So how can I put myself in the shoes of the person looking at the photograph and find interest?
I'm glad you asked that, Jen. That's really good, because same thing for us. We're marketers. What we do is type on keyboards all the time. That's not very interesting. So when we try and take pictures of us, we often take how do we make that look? What we do, what you do, what I do, what anybody does who has a technical expertise is a mystery to everybody else. We get very used to what we do very quickly, but shops are in such a great position because there's a physical product. You are working on things. You're doing stuff that you learned somehow, some way, turning a bolt. People don't even know what a bolt is. So it's just cool. And it's a cool industry. It's a cool job. It's dirty, or it's not you do some sort of magic, mysterious things under cars. It's very cool to the average public. So you're just showcasing that mystery. That's what I think it is. I mean, if you were a lawyer or something, here's me writing a pencil on a piece of paper, So we're lucky that we got some cool stuff to show.
So the follow-up question to that is, do you think that, a technician being dirty, dirty hands and whatever, while they're working, is that an issue? I mean, I've seen photos of some shops where their technicians are wearing white shirts. I mean, that would definitely not be something that would be seen in my shop. So what are your thoughts about, showing the real grit, the real dirt that's going on? And I'm not talking disgusting shops that are not clean. I'm just talking the normal day-to-day grime on a tech's hand, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's another great question, because I'm a believer that people's BS filter is super, super accentuated these days. You can't fool people. So I would not try and pretend to be anything you're not. I've said in this presentation, clean up, clean up, clean up. I mean, clean up the work area so that that Coke can that's been there for 3 weeks gets thrown with a dip or whatever it is. But I don't think you should pretend to be anything you're not. And hopefully we all are in shops that we're proud of. This forces you to pay attention to how do you operate. If you don't want to show that on how it is right then there's a bigger issue there, right? We need to change something. So, but I know putting on white shirts, that sets off my BS filter straight away. And I think it will everybody else on social. So you can be real. The only photo I've seen recently that I can think of that's been sent to us for a site, guy had a tattoo right behind his ear, and a lot of shots were right over his ear. And so that's kind of one of those things, I don't got anything against tattoos or whatever, but I'd be wary of putting that on the homepage header of my site, you know? So little things like that, just, do you really want it to be front and center? Otherwise, you know, you're the shop you want to be it. Good questions, Jen. Gold star right there.
Thanks.
Kim, you are muted.
I'm muted. Sorry. I was like talking. I just want to add to that social media, everybody's craving for authenticity, for you to be yourself and genuine. And so I think it also, when you take a picture that's raw of them dirty and they're working, it reminds people this is why they're paying you to do it, right? They don't want to get down and dirty, and then it also shows the enormous amount of tools and equipment that you have. You know, we just had, what was a National Tool Day that was in February or something. So, you know, using a photo to have your technician hold up their must-have diagnostic tool, and you're explaining what that is. And I think it's all about being real and showcasing an authentic environment. I don't know if that kind of answers your question anymore, but I think JR hit it on the head when he said you definitely don't cover up and like a white shirt. That's crazy. But I'm going to shut up because we have a train about to pass and it's going to be loud.
Yeah. And it would be remiss of me to not like mention, well, we're in a particularly interesting time right now. And some of the best, like I've talked to a lot of shops about, I always ask that same question, like, what's your strategy right now? Kim did a great class. She's got another one coming up about marketing during a crisis or a unique time. So it's definitely, you probably guess what I'm going to say, it's not the time to stop posting on social media. If people are concerned about going to a shop and are they going to, is my safety top of mind or whatever, well, that's great. Photograph like people with gloves on, or like how the steps you're going to taking. I'm a big show don't tell kind of person. You type on Facebook, no one reads it, you know, beyond 2 sentences. So you have to be able to show that kind of stuff. So it makes sense right now too. It wouldn't change anything. All right. Did you guys all know what I meant? Everybody knew rule of thirds before I said it? Yeah. Jen's a smarty pants. I like rule of thirds. I like reading the definition.
Years ago, because he was taking a photography class, and he was saying when you're taking a picture of like a landscape, he's like, you know, either the top 2/3 need to be sky or the bottom 2/3 ground. I don't know. He was just talking rule of thirds with me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good one. And especially like, so when I went to Tulane, I studied a lot of art history, and you see way back in painting and everything, they would do stuff that would leading lines and stuff. It always followed that kind of stuff. I mean, with a portrait, of course, you can put the person in the middle, but that principle has been around for millennia. So it's pretty cool stuff. Well, anyway, all right, guys. Well, if no one else has any questions, I appreciate the time and you all coming. We'll follow us on this up. If anything pops into your head that you want to ask me, or when you get into taking these photographs, if you have any questions or run any ideas past me, please email me. My email address is on the website, but it's also jr@shopmarketingpros.com. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Slide photos of the veterans